Hi, I'm Willie Little, and I've lived in here for 8 years. And when I first moved in this building, it was a very bad building. And I even had, before I picked this building, I had people telling me not to take this building because it was so bad. But I loved the area. The area was like superb. And when I first moved in, I could see I became a shut-in. I stayed inside my apartment and only went out when I had to. Then I became involved in the garden, and I'm on the committee now of the garden, and I now needed to talk to the people to start seeing, and then I started seeing how bad it really was. So then I started advocating to get people to come and help us to make it better. In the sense of
security,
yeah,
safety?
security, safety, and making the people better to each other. We didn't have security. There was no security. There was it was always constantly cops coming here. We had robberies. We had shootings. We had vandalism. We had assaults on a regular basis. The cops were here every day, practically, day.
So it was a normal
So
thing.
it became the normal, right? And that's not normal in my books. I mean, that's not living, right? That's crazy, right?
And you were assaulted by whom?
Oh, I was assaulted by a couple of the tenants in here, and that's when I started standing up and saying, okay, enough's enough. Like, I could understand why people didn't want to come out of their apartment, and they were afraid to come out of their apartment. We had elderly people where they ripped jewelry off their necks and pushed them down, and they were afraid to come out of their apartment. Even just to throw the garbage out, they were afraid. Okay, so then they wouldn't come out.
And they were afraid for a good reason.
Yeah, and they had every right to be afraid. And these were people that weren't living in this building, that were just shacking up with other people in here that had the lease. So we needed to do something about that. So I started advocating with TCHC that, you know what, the reason is because we're not dealing with those issues, and we need to deal with them. If we don't deal with them, we can't change anything. So when they called meetings and that stuff here, hardly anybody would come. Hardly any tenants would come, right? Because they got so sick and tired of listening to the talk, and nothing was done, right? So I started advocating for them to come to the meetings and that, and bring up your situation with it, with the TCHC people, and let's get security on board. Let's get something done where we can weed these people out of here.
And security, you had no security?
We had hardly any security at all. So now we have security 3 days a week, right? I think we have it Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? It's just a couple hours for Wednesday, but we have all night Thursday and all night Friday.
And why only a couple of days a week?
Well,
is that enough?
Yeah, it's been enough. It was every night, and then they changed it because there was conflicts with the tenants and stuff like that with the security guards. So, and then they changed the security company, right? So as far as I know, we have security. It's either 3 days a week or twice a week, right? It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And what about other weeks? If something days, what if something?
Oh, but there is security when you can call TCHC security. If you call them, they come right to your door and deal with the situation.
And they come right away?
Yeah, they come, right? Sometimes it takes them, a bit to get here, right? But they have 89 other buildings to deal with, right? So, and there's limited on how many people they have, right? So, but they do come, and they do make the reports and everything. But the problem was, tenants don't want to do the tenant report, right?
Because they were so cynical, right?
Right, and not only
And
that,
scared.
they're scared of retaliation, right? And so I have been, on them with doing the right, because I ended up doing, you would not believe how many tenant reports I had, okay? And then I had one lady that was working for housing in that area she came to have a meeting with me in the office, and she goes, "Oh, I know who you are. Yeah, I'm sick of reading your reports." And I got upset. I totally got upset with her. I was like, "Excuse me? Like, you want me to put in these reports, right? So that something can get done about it. And now you're standing here telling me you're sick of reading my reports? I take the time, write everything down, and now you're telling me it's bullshit? Is that what you're saying?" Right? So I went higher up. I went to her boss and explained it to her boss. Her boss did something about it, right? And then it got better. And I could understand where the tenants were coming from. I understood then why you have to have people that are working with us. And don't say stuff like that to us. If you want us to do things to make it easier for you by doing the tenant reports and that, you don't tell me you're sick of reading my tenant report. Isn't that what the whole thing is about?
It took you a lot of character and courage to, because another person would be intimidated.
Yeah, they would, and they turn around, walk away, and say, "That's it, I'm done."
Because if official person
If somebody,
said,
that's right. If somebody that's official can do that, then
tenants would say, like, why should I?
why should I be bothered?
Yeah, then
And that's
I'm,
what they were saying. And that's where the problem was really lying, right? So they ended up getting a new girl, right? And
Oh, so
now-
they changed her.
Yeah, they changed.
Oh,
They
wonderful.
changed.
So
Yeah.
you managed to get justice also in.
In that way, but I wasn't looking to do that, but.
But it happened.
But they did do it that way, right? But they need to, get their people to understand how to work with the people in here, right? How to work with TCAC people, especially, because there's a lot of mental illness and stuff like that in here too, right? That we have to, balance. And if you want me to be able to talk to these people, because I live here, and they know me, everybody knows me because of my dogs, and get them, to come out and do the things that you want them to do, well then, you gotta give it back to them as well. You have to treat them like they're human beings, okay? And you have to treat them respectfully. You don't say, "Oh, I'm sick and tired of reading reports about you."
It's a horrible
Right?
thing.
That's
yeah.
a horrible thing to say to me.
And actually, it's kind of corrupt because what is she doing there?
Yeah.
Like, why is she being
Like, what,
paid
you're
for?
getting a paycheck for doing nothing?
For what? Yeah, it's like
For doing nothing?
That's your job, right?
You can just, I don't want to have to read, because I have to read this. You don't have to read it because but you get your paycheck?
It's like a
How does that
janitor
work?
would say, "I'm sick and tired of washing,
washing the floors."
Or me, I'd say,
You
"I'm sick and
people-
tired of filming," or whatever,
Right.
right? It's
Exactly.
Bus driver saying, "I'm sick and tired."
Tired of driving the bus,
It's the
right?
same thing,
Like, I
right?
mean, exactly, right? So that's when I started seeing, right? And then I was on this participatory budgeting thing, and then I understood where the
Have a
people
bit-
were coming from. Yeah, so I got on board with the participatory budgeting, and they got to know me, right? Housing got to know me, and I was starting to get more and more involved with going to meetings, seeing other people, seeing other housing people, and they got to know me, right? And now they know me from now the coffee time that I'm doing. I never planned on doing any of this at all.
And what is this coffee
Right.
time? Tell me what.
Oh, it was Salvation Army. They had this gentleman, Mafus. He would come in every Monday, and he would put on coffee time, where he'd have muffins, pizza, little things, and chocolate bars, and coffee and tea. And the tenants would come down, and hopefully socialize with each other, right? Get to know each other, get to know who's who, right? And that's
Does it work? Like, does it?
it was a rough go, right? Because a lot of the tenants argue, and there was a lot of arguments and blah 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 blah. All right, and it was getting, at one point it got a little rough, right? But then Mark and I got on board with it with Mapus, and we started toning everything down, and we were getting the people down here socializing with each other, so it was starting to work, right? But then Salvation Army decided to cut the budget for Mapus to have coffee time. So we were, kind of like everybody's, no, we don't want you to take it away, we don't want you to take it away. So it was like, okay, Mapus came to me and Mark and said, do you guys think about, you guys wanting to take it over, right, and do coffee time? So we worked it out with housing, and now we get some funding from housing in order to keep it going,
Excellent.
right? So.
So again, that's another victory of yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's another one that I had no plans of doing, okay?
It often happens. Can you tell me about how it worked that police started coming and
Well, what we did was, we have vending machines out there. And apparently the owner of the vending machines has to give so much to housing to go back to the building, right? So that money is more or less allotted for the tenants. So we started to, we wanted to find out what we could use that money for, like, and for the people in the building, right? So finally, we, for so long, whoever was running whatever it was, like a Unity Club, right, they got the vending machine money, and none of the tenants knew about it. So I, again, with my mouth, started advocating that the money should go back to all the tenants, right? The tenants should have a say in where that money is going, right? So Mark and I got on board with telling everybody that there's vending machine money that goes back to the building. What do you want us to use it for, right? Not just for that one specific club that tenant was getting that never told anybody else about. It's for everybody. So we decided that we wanted housing to have a meeting to explain to everybody about that vending machine money, what that money is for. So they came and had a meeting, and we only had like maybe 10 people. But by them hearing housing saying about the vending machine money, word of mouth goes all over. So when that was decided, we ended up having a meeting, and what it was that we were going to make a proposal, right? Everyone who wanted to have something done with that money had to make a proposal. So that was like okayed. So then we came back and we presented our proposals. And there was like, I think, 4 or 5 of us that put proposals out. My proposal was have 2 barbecues and a Christmas dinner, right? And then they had their proposals with what they wanted. I can't remember what all of that was, because I was just doing what I thought it would, and I thought that would be more beneficial to the tenants, right?
and so you decided to do this coffee time.
Oh, yeah.
That was
right.
your proposal.
Well, that's now on a new proposal,
Ah.
right? That hadn't even come up yet. This was just the very first time of anybody finding out about the vending machine money. So then I did the proposal, and then you would not believe how many people came down to do the voting, right? Housing was shocked. They couldn't believe how many tenants actually came down and voted. And guess who was successful? I was. I won the barbecues, and and all that money went to that. Okay? Well, I was a little bit upset about that because I thought that some of that money should be spread out to the other groups. So this time, because we have more money and we have coffee, I'm on board with coffee time now, my proposal is going to be 1 barbecue, 1 Christmas dinner, and money for the coffee time, right? And then split the money up, because it's supposed to be about $2,000 or $3,000, right? Split it up, some of the money to the other groups, right? So, because there's a dart club now, and there's
What is this dark club? What is it?
it's where they throw darts.
Ah, darts.
Yeah, darts, right? And they just started as well, right? That club just started, right? Which is good, and that's a tenant in here, 2 tenants that want to do that, and they're getting people down to do that, which is good, right? Because normally nobody comes down, right? And so these things are happening. They're happening in baby steps, right? And they're happening slowly, but on a good positive note where it's going forward. It's not going backwards. It's not going back to nobody not wanting it. And the tenants are starting to, converse with each other and be interactive with each other
And they're not
in a
afraid
better
to-
way.
They're not afraid to get out anymore.
No, it's getting better that way, right? So that's what we want to keep that momentum going.
So to sum it up, the most important thing that happened here for safety, like you basically got a good relationship with Toronto Housing. They started listening to you, if I understand
Yeah.
correctly, right? And
Yeah.
second, they changed security company,
Yeah,
which became more responsive.
yes.
So
Yes.
better security company.
yeah.
And they became more present here.
Yes, yes. And then when it worked out, when I was successful for my barbecue and that, I invited the police, I invited the ambulance people, like the EMS guys, I invited the doctors, I invited whoever I could to come and intermingle with the people that were down here for the barbecues, which was a good idea, because now EMS is here 2 days a week, right?
What
Checking
is
people's-
EMS?
They check their blood pressure, some are diabetic and stuff and that. So they're coming down, people are coming down to interact with them, right? Which has gotten better, right? And that's how that all started, how we started that, because Mark is my tenant rep, right? And we work together. And when I was successful with my proposal, him and I had talked about getting the police on board, invite them, give them an invitation to, because they always see the bad stuff. I wanted them to see the good stuff and the good people.
And to
Okay?
connect
And
right?
connect with the people in a good way.
How did
not a
that
bad
work?
way. It worked out great. It was a great barbecue, and they were all talking with, police were handing them the burgers.
Okay.
Okay? You know, I mean, and it worked out really good, right? And now the tenants don't feel so, bad about the police, right? They're getting better with that. And that was the whole name of the game, was, getting everybody to, learn how to interact with everyone.
So the success formula, if I understand correctly, is the officials working with community and a leader, natural leader in between. you
Yeah.
know. That's basically
And yeah,
what it boils
and
down to.
I'm not the only one, because Mark is also.
But
a
now
big-
he's sick, right?
But he's sick right now.
So
Yeah.
you're the only one now.
So, yeah, well, I still see him and we still discuss everything in my apartment, right? Like, we sound like we're arguing, but we yell and scream, right?
But you like each other, yeah.
Yeah,